Hi everyone, I'm Sandra Green, founder of Handbags in the Boardroom and the Women Leaders Association, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this webinar on breaking through the glass ceiling. So let me take you over to the presentation. And let's make a start. So those of you who know me know that I am really passionate about raising the awareness of the issues facing women leaders and encouraging more women to have the confidence to fulfill their potential. We have to let both men and women know about the challenges and of course the opportunities that exist. And I welcome you to this session so you can find out more. And I'm genuinely delighted to see so many people that have signed up. We must face we must look at what is happening with gender diversity and actually really we have to do something about it. This is not about being anti-men. It's not about feeling sorry for ourselves. It's not about getting on the feminist agenda. It's about looking at the real facts. It's about being proactive, and it's about how do we start to drive change in our society. There are some fantastic initiatives out there, and let us be the force for change. I really do want to share this message with people, and I want to tell you about the Women Leaders Association at the end of the call for those of you who perhaps don't know what we're doing and why we're doing it. So what I want to cover, I want to tell you first of all about some of the great stuff that's going on out there for women leaders and some of the achievements of women leaders. Then I want to bring you up to speed with what's happening right now, and then to have a look at the challenges and the opportunities. Firstly, a little bit about me. So what's the bookmaker thing doing there? I'm sure you are wondering that. Well, I was brought up in a family of bookmakers and been involved in horse racing since a small child. Personally, I did become a bookmaker for a period of time. I have stood at Royal Ascot, I have stood at the Derby, I have stood at several tracks around the UK, and it's a very, very male chauvinistic industry. And I was very much brought up to believe that it was a man's world and the woman was, her place was at home. So my approach was very much in the second picture there to that the tiara syndrome was the way forward. I would prove myself, I would work hard, and I would get rewarded. I would get that crown on my head. And that's what I did. And that I carried that through right through my schooling, right through my degree, right into my corporate life. And I constantly thought the harder I work, the more I prove it in my results, the more rewards I will get. And to some extent it is true. I think as you're first starting out in your career, that is what happens. But as I became more and more interested in self-development, and I read more, and I attended webinars, and I went on conferences, and I really got under the skin of leadership, I came to realize two things. Firstly, the reason men get promoted at work is that they play a totally different game to women. They're adept at networking, they take more risks, they seek out sponsors, they shout about their achievements, just some of the examples. And secondly, the women who get promoted tended to be, not always, but did tend to be the more aggressive, the more driven, the more focused, actually the she-males, if you like. And the women felt, other women around them, including myself, were kind of felt a bit in their shadow and didn't really want to be like them. And in a way, all of this led me to set up my own business and also to find out what actually is going on for women. And then Handbags in the Boardroom was born, which is all about, for me, developing authentic leadership, enabling women to live at their best more of their time, to reach their potential, to fulfill their dreams. So that's a little bit about me. So let's talk a little bit around some of the achievements and the initiatives that is being made for women today. I want to begin with the 2015 Lord Davis report into women on boards. Lord Davis was asked to review the situation of how many women we had in our boards back in 2011. And at that time, there were, in the FTSE 100, 12.5% of the boardroom were made up of women. And the work that Lord Davis did was to say, actually, I recommend a voluntary quota of 25% by the end of 2015. Right now, in July 2015, we've just hit that voluntary quota of 25%. There are now no all-male boards in the FTSE 100. There are 41% of the FTSE 100 companies, 41 companies in the FTSE 100, I guess that is still 41%, have 25% women on their boards or even better. And if you look in the political world, we're at an all-time high in the number of political women leaders in the world. There are 22 world leaders who are either presidents, prime ministers, for example, Germany, Angela Merkel, and in Argentina. And of course, we've just had our highest number of female politicians elected here in the UK. Interestingly, women constitute 40% of the upper house in Germany, and in Bolivia, 47%. So that's interesting, isn't it? Okay, so great stuff going on, and there are some really good initiatives out there. There is more awareness as to what's going on, and we are striving. There are many people striving to get the message out there about why we need to have more women. Think Act Report is a fantastic initiative looking at how we can get gender equality. This looks at getting companies to be more mindful of gender equality, to then take action on what they're doing about any inequality they see, and to report back to the government in terms of what they're doing. To date, approximately 270 companies have signed up, and there are some great case studies on there as well. So you can just look that up, Think Act Report. Cranfield are very heavily into the research of women leaders. They introduced in 2009 the 100 Women to Watch, and this was to highlight both the breadth and the depth of the talent pool that exists out there. And over the last 6 years, 30 of the women in that list have actually been appointed to an executive director or a non-executive director role. And there's also the Times Top 50 Employers for Women. This is an annual supplement that's done in conjunction with Opportunity Now. Companies selected have to show consistent commitment to the progression of women in their workplace, and they are looking for information such as what does their organisation do to become a top employer for women, and what does it do externally to promote diversity and inclusion and creating opportunities for women. So there's some really good things happening out there. Some prominent advocates, well, first one there, Sheryl Sandberg, Chief Operating Officer of Facebook, amazing ambassador for women. She wrote a bestseller a couple of years ago called Lean In. She's also set up the Ban Bossy campaign. Interestingly, on her website, it says, when a little boy asserts himself, he's called a leader. Yet when a little girl does the same, she risks being branded bossy. And words like bossy send the message out about don't put your hand up, don't speak up. And by middle school, girls are less interested in leading than boys. And really, her campaign is to say, you know, we have to get more awareness about this. And rather than saying to a girl she's being bossy, we should say what great leadership potential she has. Emma Watson of Harry Potter fame caught the media attention last year with her talk on gender equality at the United Nations. She is now a UN ambassador for gender equality and a spokesperson for the big campaign by the UN called He for She. Sandy Tofskig, you may know her as a UK comedian. She has announced in the last couple of months she is launching the Women's Equality Party, and she actually hopes to field some parliamentary candidates in 2020 with a focus on issues such as the inequality in pay and the lack of females in politics, amongst many other campaigns she's doing. So we are in a great position. There is a growing awareness. And what I want to do now is just share with you why it's so important we get more women into leading some of our organisations. Here's the first one. Now, this actually is slightly outdated because this was March 2015 and we're now in July. At the time when I first put this slide together, we had 23.5% of our boardrooms in the FTSE 100 were women. As I mentioned just before, that's now 25%. And in the FTSE 250, 18% versus 82%. What's interesting, however, there are only 3 chairwomen in the FTSE 100 and only 6 female CEOs. There are 24 actually, I think it's 25 executive directors in the FTSE 100, just 25. And in the FTSE 250, the last figure I picked up was that there were just 27 executive women. So remember, there's a difference between executive and non-executive. And there's a lovely quote that I came across a while ago that said, when you have one woman on a board, it's a token, 2 women on a board is a presence, and 3 women on a board becomes a voice. So position, unfortunately, is a bit bleaker, as I say, for the FTSE 250. And actually, can you imagine what it might look like beyond that? And in terms of the European perspective, there are this is the situation here, as you can see, a really stunning growth in the last 10 years from just 8% women on boards to an average now of 20.3%. You know that we've got 25, the US has 21, Australia has 22.6, and the country with the highest number of women on boards is Norway. Now, Norway introduced quotas many years ago. They wanted to have they wanted 40% women on boards, and they've practically achieved that. Finland has 32, then France, then Sweden. And you know, the average age of female board appointments in Europe is 55. Okay, so we know that there is a 6th one just been added. That's the, her name's just escaped me. The CEO for Whitbread has become one of the 6 female CEOs now in the FTSE 100. We've got Veronica Laurie from Kingfisher, Alison Cooper from Imperial Tobacco, Liv Garfield from Severn Trent, Carolyn McCall from EasyJet, and Moya Green from Royal Mail. Compare that to the men. Gives you an idea, doesn't it, of how many men there are in the FTSE 100 compared to women. And I love this quote here that the New York ran this back in March. There are fewer women running big companies than men named John. I mean, isn't that hilarious? Okay, let me just share some of these statistics. So impact on boards. So Catalyst wrote the Bottom Line report a number of years ago, and they did plenty of research looking at what evidence is there that if we have more women on a board, what is the return on, what is the performance? And they found that with 3 or more women on a board, the return on sales was 46% better, which is huge, isn't it? They also found there was a better stock performance in that there was a 66% higher return on invested capital and a 53% higher return on equity. McKinsey's started a campaign looking at women on boards. Their very well-known article on women, it's not an article actually, it's a full research document on Women Matter. They also found that there was an improvement in terms of profitability of sales, a 56% increase where there was 1 woman on the executive committee, 1 or more women, again showing an improvement. Another report, Thomson Reuters, monitored the performance of companies between 2008 and 2013 and also found an increase in business performance. And the Davis report obviously talks about it. So there are actually plenty of reports that are showing that it has a positive impact. And interestingly, this idea of outperformance makes sense because women make up over half of the UK population. They account for nearly half of the working population. They outperform men educationally. They're responsible for the majority of household purchasing decisions. And they are as successful as men at university, if not more, and in their early career. So what is going on? We know we need more women in the boardroom. We know that we have more women coming through the lower ranks, so something's happening. And because of this, Vince Cable, earlier in this year, obviously he's no longer in the government, but he did hint that quotas would be enforced. Now, Angela Merkel decided in November 14 to introduce quotas after being a very long advocate for not having them. She has now said that 108 of their top companies need to have 1/3 of their boardroom as women because she absolutely believes the pace of change is too slow. And another worrying statistic is that the chair of the European Select Committee, a chap called Sir William Cash, has a draft European directive proposing 40% of non-execs and 33% of executive positions to be filled by women by 2020. Now, there are many women that I talk to who don't want quotas because they want to get there on merit, and that they're very passionate about this. So we need to decide what on earth it is that we are going to do. Here's one of the problems, those guys, the pipeline. As you can see here, women are entering the workforce not quite 50-50, but not far off. When they get to senior management, there's only a third of them are women compared to 2/3 men. And as we know, the directorships at the FTSE 250 level, significantly less than men. Now, we know that we lose women mid-career. We know that many decide to have children, but many want to come back. We know that many have elder care responsibilities. We know there's research that's proved that women do more than men in terms of household chores. We know that women decide to opt out and set up on their own. And we also know that when they do set up on their own, they do extraordinarily well. So there are things that are happening out there that we need to be mindful of, clear on, and decide what it is we can do about it. Men operate differently. I mentioned this earlier. Men get the reports that get the rewards. There was a Catalyst report recently that looked at this very issue, and they found that men get promotions. They get more promotions than women. That's because they have more access to sponsors. They actively network. They actively build relationships. They ask to get more money, and they get it. And they get more of the hot jobs, the international assignments, and the bigger projects. And unconscious bias is a huge issue in our organisations. Now, unconscious bias, the reason there's a picture of an orchestra here is that when they looked, in fact, they did this piece of work, they wondered why women weren't making it into our orchestras. They were predominantly men. So they put big screens up, big curtains up, and they did blind auditions. And there was an astonishing increase in the number of women that got through the first round. It was something like 300% more. It was crazy, although they were starting from a low base. And the number who landed in the orchestra was massively higher, because there's this unconsciousness that goes on where we are biased for whatever reason into thinking that women couldn't make it. So do Google that, but bias is a particular issue in our organisations. And also women themselves hold themselves back, whether that's, I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm going to get found out, the imposter syndrome, I shouldn't be here. Women suffer from more confidence issues than men. Women have more limiting beliefs than men. And also women believe they can be superwoman. I can do this myself. I don't need anybody else. I can sort it out. And of course, we can't. We can't. So, how can women break through this glass ceiling? Since I set up Handbags in the Boardroom, I've been fortunate to interview over 50 inspirational women who sit on boards, women who set up their own business, women who are non-exec directors, women who are authors, chief executives, women who've stepped out of the mold and achieved extraordinary things. And I've constantly asked what these people believe is the secret to their success. And what I want to do is just share the common things all of these women have shared with me. And I want you to be thinking about what you're doing about all of these things. Number one, networking. The more senior your role gets, the less it relies on your technical expertise in most cases. However, what does matter is the strength of your relationships. It's about knowing what's going on across the organization. It's about understanding what's happening in the boardroom. It's knowing who's in the boardroom and ensuring they know you. It's about having some external radar tuned. The problem is that we women tend to keep our heads down, believing the harder we work, we'll get promoted based on that. So we have to find a way to network. We have to push ourselves out of our comfort zones. We have to find meetings where we will meet these influential people. And we have to overcome our fears of, what am I going to say? because it really is all about who you know and who knows you. And a couple of tips for you. When you do meet people, be genuinely interested in them. There's a lovely little acronym here for you to remember called FORM. Ask about family, occupation, recreation, and message. So in other words, tell us a bit about you. Who are you outside of work? What actually is it that you do? Where do you work? What's your role? What attracts you to that role, etc.? What do you do when you're not at work? And what makes you different? What's your message? What do you really passionately care about in this world? Secondly, you have to make sure other people know about you. So what are your skills, your interests, your passions, your talents? What will help them remember you? And number three, you must follow up. You've got to be clear about how to keep in touch, how to follow up, and how you can help them. And the other thing in this, it's not just about networking, but it's also about sponsorship. And men, again, are very good at finding a sponsor. And I'm not going to go into all that here and now, but just to say, look out for, you may be surprised to find you have an informal sponsor. So this is somebody who's looking out for you. This is someone who's giving you advice, who's putting their neck on the line perhaps, who's spotting opportunities for you. So you really do need, if you are keen to get on, you need to be thinking not just about mentoring, but about sponsorship. Leadership is essential. Authentic leadership is key. As the Centre for Creative Leadership put it so eloquently, women who are authentic have a good understanding of themselves and their priorities. They attend first to what's important to them rather than what's important to others. They're clear about how they feel and what they need and what they prefer. There are four critical parts to authentic leadership, guys. Firstly, what are you leading for? What's your passion? What's your purpose? What are your values? You have to get clear on your values and live by your values. The Stanford Business Council found this next point to be the most important capability of leaders, and that is self-awareness. How aware are you of you? Your behaviors, your personality types, how you make decisions, what stresses you out. And the fourth component is your life narrative. Harvard Business Review found that you don't have to be born with special leadership traits, nor do you have to have the stripes on your arms, nor do you have to wait to be tapped on the shoulder. What is important is you're really clear about your past and future life story. Love that. Secret number 3 is learn how to speak up and lean in. Lean in is a phrase that was coined by Sheryl Sandberg, and that's what her book is called. And she says that actually women have to make themselves heard. They have to lean in at the table, not sit backwards. So this is all about how you are behaving in meetings. Are you hedging, hesitating, apologizing? Are you lacking the evidence for your point of view? So how much have you thought about what you're doing? Women stay in the shadows too much. Again, lovely article in Harvard Business Review. Make sure you have a point of view and use your voice in a way that gets you heard. You need to get feedback on your voice and you need to get feedback on your presence. And again, how are you positioning yourself? You really do need to ensure that you don't rock up for meetings on time and disappear out the door really quickly. You have to be positioning yourself as somebody with presence, with authority, with knowledge, and with expertise. And these are the things that will help you to overcome your self-esteem and confidence issues if you are somebody that tends to sit back. You can't waste time waiting for others to bring you in. You have to do it yourself. Okay, so I want to share with you now an opportunity that I've developed for women, and I want to talk you through what that opportunity is. It's going to take, the Human Rights and Equality Commission have said it's going to take 70 years to achieve gender equality. That is too slow. I have a 16-year-old daughter. I want her to succeed in life. I do not want her waiting in the wings for life to change whilst we're all plodding along, hoping one day it will sort itself out. We have to do something about it. The Women Leaders Association is my answer to helping women who want to make a difference, to women who believe that they want to give something back, who believe that the pace of change is too slow. And I want to talk you through what it is that that the Women Leaders Association is about, and why I hope you join. 3 principles, which I'm going to dive into in a minute. So 1 is around collaboration, getting women to collaborate. 2 is about leadership and outstanding role models. And 3 is about accelerating the pace of change. What it isn't, it's not a talking shop, it's not a glass of wine, although I'm sure at some point we'll have a glass of wine. It's not a gossip place, it's not a lack of action place, it's not the old boys club, it's not a place where you go play golf. That's not what it is that I want to create, okay? That is not the sort of people I want in it at all. I'll explain who I do want in a minute. So the collaboration, I want to create this association, well, I am creating this association, where we can build mini economies. I absolutely believe that women do collaborate well together when they're allowed to. But what we don't tend to do very easily is talk business. Men talk business, men bring business in and back, and we need to create more business transactions, whether that's buying or selling each other's services or products, whether that's building brand awareness, whether that's sharing opportunities, whether that's looking for graduate placements, whether it's looking for a trustee or executive roles, we should and we must start to create this idea of mini economies. I really want the idea of a yellow pages, you know, a place that you can, you know you've got trusted, like-minded other women in it, and it's a place you want to do business in. And I want to find that because I believe it will save you time. I believe it will help you get noticed. And I believe it will help you with your performance and your productivity because you've got a trusted collaboration and association that you can work and network with. Secondly, I absolutely want to develop your leadership skills. Here, what we've got is I've got 4 key pillars actually in terms of what I'm building this on. 1, I believe we've got to be better at the whole career visibility, so helping around networking and mentoring and sponsorship and getting heard and all of that stuff. I believe we have to, women are struggle with the whole work and family life. We have to, and as a result of that, they get into stress and get into overwhelm, so we have to deal with that. We need to develop authentic leaders. We don't want he-males or she-males, whatever you want to call them. And we also need to find ways to build these relationships, to network, but to be building collaboration, to develop engagement, to be looking outside of our immediate work that we have to do. And I really do want us to develop those skills and capabilities. I am partnering with specialists in their field to bring you discounted products and discounted events. I'm going to provide opportunities for mentoring and for coaching, for mastermind groups, and I really want to develop you as an outstanding role model for your organization. And we have to raise awareness of what's going on. We have to get out there, we have to speak at conferences, we have to talk to the guys, we have to share what is happening in other organizations, what's happening across the world, what are some of the things that we are doing. And that's absolutely a key part of the association. It's not just a talking shop, it's going to be an action, proactive force for change. So I mentioned before who it's not for, but actually I'm going to be very clear about who this is for. It has to be for women who want to be part of something bigger, who want to have more meaning, who want more fulfillment in their lives. It's got to be for women who are willing to commit. I really want it to be a place of empowerment, a place of inspiration. It's for women who know they can't do it by themselves. If you want to stay small and want things done for you, then this isn't the right place for you, okay? I'll be very clear about that. So let me just tell you what you're going to get for being a member. So there's loads of benefits, because some of the women who've already joined are amazing. And I'm so excited about how we grow this into a real force for change. So it's either a monthly or an annual fee, whichever suits actually. Some people are getting their corporates to pay and they prefer to pay for the year. Others are paying themselves privately, whichever suits you. Every single member will be trained as a mentor and will get a mentor. We have a private LinkedIn group so we can start doing business with each other. We have a monthly masterclass webinar, so we're going to give you free trainings. We're going to have a vault for you where you can get access, you can get your training and your masterclass, you can listen, you can download, you can go in there at any point that you want. And over time, we're going to build that into a very rich resource for you. We're going to also give every member a personal, you get a personal coaching session with me. That's to get you started, for me to find out about your goals, for me to find out about where you're heading and how this can best help you. You're going to get every month a printed newsletter where we're going to have, we're going to help you with things like strategy and finance and leadership. We're going to have guest bloggers, or we do have guest bloggers in there. We're going to have member spotlights so you can find out about others. We're going to give you some free resources in there. We're going to be telling you about events that are coming up. You're going to get that in the post every month. You're also going to get an inspirational audio where you can be listening to somebody who's made it in the world, and you can be inspired on your way to work perhaps, or on your way home from work. We will provide you with discounts on any event that we're running. So we run impact training and emotional intelligence, and we run, what else do we run? We run a women's leadership course, we run public speaking, we run loads, absolutely loads. You also get to come to several events for free. So you get to come to our International Women's Day for free. You get to come to our Success Summit for free. You get to come to our Vision Day for free. You get to get access to our online virtual conference recordings completely free. You also will be invited to our lunch and learn sessions. So you'll be able to come to events where we're going to have, again, great speakers once a month where you can be inspired, find out about other things that are going on. So absolutely loads of things for you to get involved in, but you need to manage how much you want to get involved and how little. And my guess is, as you have busy peaks and troughs, so you'll get more involved in some things and less involved in others. But it absolutely is going to be a supportive environment. It's going to be a place where you really want to be connected, and you will find some great people out there. I promise you, you will have such a great time in so many ways, and I really do want you to join. The investment for the Women Leaders Association is £127 a month plus VAT if you're in the EU. And you know, I could have charged 20 quid, I could have charged 50 quid, but I want you to get real value for this, and I want to get the right women joining for it. So I know it's not cheap, but I know that it also offers you tremendous leadership opportunities and opportunities to network, to build businesses, to attend great events for free, to have access to a vault, to be trained as a mentor. Actually, the more I'm saying it, the more I think it's an absolute bargain. So I really do hope that you join and that you come on board. And if you think your organisation will pay for this, then please do get in touch. You'll find all the contact details on the website. And also, in terms of joining, just log on to the womenleadersassociation.com and have a look at this little tab that says join, and join up there. You'll also get a lovely free gift in the post when you join up. And we really welcome you, look forward to meeting you, and growing you and your leadership. Thanks ever so much for listening. Take care.